is the Discuss Metal Podcast with Justin Robert of Weathered. Hosted by Dan Terry. Presented by discussmetal.com. This episode of Discuss Metal was recorded live on twitch.tv/DiscussMetalDan. Check it out at twitch.discussmetal.com.
All right, we made it. Jeremy Prince has already sent me a message going, dude, where the crap are you guys? So, so I was like, oops.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to start the show like I normally do, and I'll just do this. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Discuss Metal Podcast. My name is Dan. I'm your host, and with me tonight is Justin Robert of the band Weathered.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is cool, and it's so funny. It's like discuss metal. But we're not gonna probably do that. We're gonna just get to know Justin a little bit better, and talk about Weathered, because one of the biggest things that I like specifically about your band. Number one, I like all of the face down bands that aren't like hardcore bands. For whatever reason, that always makes me super happy. Like whenever I see that.
Oh yeah.
But you guys have been around. You guys have been around for quite some time.
Yeah. I think it'll be 7 years in February that we've been with this lineup.
Well, yeah, because your first release was what 2015, sometime around there.
I think so. There are a couple releases that we've taken off the internet in like the last couple of years. So I'm trying to remember what 2015 would have been. I think that's like Alternative Translation. That's like our first like big one, or like our first like official release. But yeah, we've had like a couple of EPs before that too.
Well, let's jump all the way back, and I ask everybody the same question, and I always get really cool answers. But what got you into music? What got you into playing, singing, all that?
Yeah, I think it was a couple things. Like, I grew up going to church, and like my dad was the pastor, so like we sang songs, every Sunday, and I don't know. I think I just like enjoyed doing that a lot. And then I grew up in Japan, so it's not that I didn't have like any friends or anything. We weren't like super isolated, but like I didn't have a ton of friends that I'd hang out a lot with. So I would like go listen to music like by myself. Like that was always like a big thing. Like, I don't know, that's like an early memory of mine, is just like hanging out by myself, listening to like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like a CD that I stole from like my brother, or like Avril Lavigne or something. So yeah, that's like my love for music. That's like very deep. And then like I got a guitar when I was 13, kind of just messed around with it through high school and stuff. And I don't know if you want me to like keep going.
Yeah, no, you're good. Just keep going. We got
okay. I
don't know how much time you have, but I've got like literally the rest of the night. So you go as deep as you want to go.
Sure. Yeah. So I played like some like talent show type of like band stuff in high school. It was really bad. But that's like my first time like performing like original music and like covers, that kind of stuff. And then when I was 18, I went to college in New Ulm, Minnesota, and a couple doors down from me in my dorm was John Boomhofer, who's our guitarist. And like we had a couple of like mutual bands that we were both into, and like one of them was Taking Back Sunday. So like we would just get together in a room and like play Taking Back Sunday songs, and That was a lot of fun.
Tell all your friends. Or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm super into Where You Want to Be and Louder Now. I think those two records are really good.
Where You Want to Be is one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. I think all the covers we did play though were from Tell All Your Friends. So, sure. Classic. But yeah, we decided to like start like an actual band and like focus on writing original music. And then eventually like he left that school. He went to like this other one that was like half an hour away, and he met Alec, our drummer, there. And then we met our bassist Christian through like kind of through his sister, but he also reached out to us independently on Craigslist because we were like trying to find musicians on Craigslist. And so yeah, that would have been like 2013, I think. Because I left school in 2013 and I knew those guys like around then, like February of 2013. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty much just been like the band stuff since then, since 2013. Like we all either graduated from school or left school. And then like we all lived in a house together and just kept writing music, started touring a little bit, just like DIY tours. And yeah, I don't know, 7 years later, here we are.
And so, whenever you originally started the band, what kind of band were you wanting to make? And I like asking this question because nobody ever ends up being what they set out to be. Eventually you like either get tired of playing a certain style or, you just want to push yourself or something like that. So what kind of band, whenever you sit down and think about the band Weathered, what was the original vision?
Yeah, I think like it's not like we wanted to be a pop punk band, but I was really into the Wonder Years at the time. And I think it shows in like the kind of songs we were writing. So writing like, very like just pop punk riff type of stuff. And like the lyrics and the melodies were very like emo pop punk type of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely how it started out. But like, I don't know. I don't really listen to pop punk anymore, like at all. So yeah, it was definitely like a phase. So yeah.
And I guess that's why, you'd mentioned Taking Back Sunday. I guess that's why, and obviously like the first record that I've heard, was, cause I always like to start at the beginning, at least as far as I can get, was Alternative Translation, which has a little bit more of a, for lack of a better term, kind of more of like an emo type of like darker sort of like textured sound. So I guess is that what ended up developing kind of out of those pop punk roots?
Yeah. And I think like at the same time we were getting into bands like Brand New and Cloakroom and Citizen. Trying to think of like other bands that have like a little more darker tone to them. I think that was like just really influential, like Citizen especially. Cause like we like that was one of the things that made John and I like want to start a band and like tour and stuff. Like we were living kind of in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota, and he was like, "Hey, there's this band playing up in the Twin Cities. They're called Citizen. They're playing at a coffee shop. Like, let's go see them." And they were playing with Turnover, and it was Turnover and Citizen, and then a bunch of local bands. This is like well before Citizen got like really big, and we were both like, "This is cool. Like, we would love to play in a coffee shop, like." And then we love the sound of this band. Like, they're dark and they're like very riffy. Like, let's write stuff like this, or let's just write anything so we can do this.
Right. Yeah. No, the brand, I think the Brand New comparison is when I was listening to that record today when I was at work, I thought, get a little bit of a Brand New vibe off of that. Not like a direct ripoff, but just kind of a kind of that same darker thing. And what's interesting about Weathered for me is that there's a lot of it just feels like there's like a lot of pain there, in those songs. It doesn't sound contrived to me. It doesn't sound like, oh, we're just writing this because it matches, whatever music we came up with. So there's a lot of pain in there. And with the band having, kind of those roots and like with like Christian music, how does that, how does that all translate in? How does that work? It's a broad question. Sorry.
No worries. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right.
Sure. No, you're fine.
So like even when it was just John and I, then like we met studying to be pastors, like at a Christian school, like even when it was that like part of our lives, like we never talked about starting like a Christian band necessarily, or like that wasn't really on our minds, only because like I don't think either of us grew up listening to like Christian music or like knowing that it was Christian music. You know, like I had never heard of Cornerstone until like 2 years ago. You know, like even though like we came up in very like Christian households, like it was, I don't know, like we didn't know anything about that. And so like, so when we were like writing stuff, I think like, yeah, we were both like dealing with a lot of like transitional things, you know, like moving from like being kids to like moving out out of our parents' homes and like being adults. And there was a lot of like pain attached to that. And then also just like, I don't know, like we are like John and I are Christian guys. Like, so it's like the overarching like hope that we have in our lives. Like it's going to spill over into the music, even if it's like not intentional.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know.
It's a hard question because it's, you know, and that's why I always say roots in or stuff like that, because I know there aren't a lot of people that are like, I'm going to make a band and I'm going to put a label on it. And then I'm just going to, you know, like, this is just what we're going to do, you know?
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting, just in the sense that, I was having a conversation recently with the band Hope for Home, and we were talking about kind of like pain in the context of Christian music and growing up and things like that. And we were talking about how, like, you know, a lot of the quote unquote Christian music that we listened to was really just kids that were hurting, you know, that just happened to have met in church and ended up playing, you know, in a band together. Then being sold in bookstores as some sort of like ministry sort of thing.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah. So how did you end up getting in touch with Face Down?
We became friends with the people in Comrades. I don't know if you know them, Joe and Laura. And well, it's actually like two ways. Like first through them, like they're our friends. We've toured with them a little bit. And then we recorded our first record, Stranger Here, with Jim Hughes of Colossus. He also does like graphic design work for Face Down. And we both said to them like, hey, like if Face Down or anybody, you know, is like looking to pick up a band or just pick up a record, like, you know, feel free to show this to them. So it was, I think Jason Dunn, I think he got two what do you call it? Two recommendations, or like, you know, recommendations from two different people saying like, hey, check this band out. And, you know, from there, you know, we got signed up with them. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Very cool. Like we got, I don't know, just to give you like more context, like of how we met any of these people, like, cause John, Christian, Alec, and I, like, we don't know people at all. Like we came into this whole thing, like knowing pretty much nobody in the music industry, knowing nobody in the scene at all, like in Minnesota. So like back in 2013 ish, like we're playing local shows around. And there's this band called Household, and they're like kind of starting to blow up like in that local scene. And we become friends with them, and we meet a bunch of other people that they're kind of like connected with in the scene. And they're telling us like, hey, go check out Take Hold Fest in Grand Rapids. Go check out Flood City Fest. You should go to Audio Feed. And so like, yeah, like we'll play wherever there's a show. That's cool. And we did that. Like we're able to network a little bit more, that's how we met Comrades, was like playing Take Hold Fest in Grand Rapids, you know, and just like seeing the same people around, and like, yeah, just like networking and like, you know, we're like looking around, like seeing where we should record. And like, we got a bunch of people telling us, hey, look up Jim Hughes, you know, go check out the band Colossus, like hit him up. He lives in Sioux Falls, not far from us. Like you should go record with him. So like, yeah, it's all very like accidental. Like looking back on it now, it's just like, oh yeah, that just happened because like right place, right time type of stuff.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. The so whenever you went, I talked a little bit about I've talked a little bit about alternative translation, but obviously the sound in Stranger Here is significantly different. Although it's weird because I still get slight like brand new vibes off of it, but
Yeah, for sure.
but I noticed just kind of this transition from like a kind of this like darker like kind of sort of emo band into kind of more of a textured like hard rock sound. I don't want to say general market because like Nickelback, this is not like it's very much more gut wrenching than that. But what I found was an album that I could equally chill to, as well as it kind of make me think a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not just a relaxation album, which it can be that, but it's just so that's kind of tying into my what did you want the band to be when you first started versus where you ended up. What was the transition like for you in changing sounds, or what made you kind of want to go in a different direction?
Yeah. Well, anytime we talk about like Stranger Here and like sound or sound change, like I'm always quick to remember that our EP Misnomer that came out right before that, like all those songs like Misnomer and Stranger Here, those were written around or at the same time. Like we had 14 songs at one point, like those 14 songs, and we were like, well, these 4 sound really cool together and these 10 sound really cool together. Rather than trying to pick like the 10 best ones, let's just like do a way like darker release, and then like we'll do this record. And yeah, it's not like super dark, but like we like the songs. It definitely wasn't like a conscious like, oh, we want to change sounds now necessarily. It was kind of just like, this is what we're writing.
This is what we all came up with. Yeah.
And like up until or like through Stranger Here, our writing process was all 4 of us in a room. We just like jam a bunch. Maybe I'll take it like just by myself and like kind of hash out a skeleton, and I'll bring John in the room and like we'll solidify the skeleton a little bit. And then like we'll bring it to the group and like let's flesh it out more, tweak it a little bit. So yeah, like the sound came as a result of just jamming. It wasn't that, it definitely wasn't like a conscious thing. I'm not sure if we even really like realized how different it was until like we finished recording Stranger Here, and then it was like, oh yeah, these are very different. So yeah.
Well, that's cool, and I know I'm kind of hashing up like old news, releases.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
But you have a single out now, called
Mm-hmm.
In This World,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
With that, and obviously without me hearing the whole record yet, what I guess is the writing process for that record, and what can we expect as listeners in comparison to previous material?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So writing process for this record, like totally different, because right after we released Stranger Here, John moved to Virginia, and so yeah, like we realized our writing process of like just being in a room together and like hashing it out, like that wasn't going to work. Like we were only going to be able to see each other when we toured, which is like kind of rare. And like even then, like we'll have maybe a day to work on stuff, and like we wanted to write as many songs as possible, so it's just all kind of difficult. So it kind of morphed into, well, yeah, for a while, like me and Alec, the drummer, like we would get in a room together and just try to work on stuff as much as possible. And I don't know, it wasn't really working. Like we got in a lot more arguments, and it kind of forced me to like write by myself a lot more. And yeah, when we were all together, like in the same room, like sometimes didn't go very well. Like sometimes it was really frustrating, but I think we were all so happy to be in the same room and playing together that like it made us love the songs more, like when they turned out well. And yeah, I don't know, like if you're wondering what to expect, like on the record, like we just kept saying like, we'll write whatever we want to write as long as it sounds good. And it doesn't matter if it sounds like Weathered or what we think Weathered sounds like, because whatever Weathered puts out is what Weathered sounds like, if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
So I'm not sure if you know, we actually have 3 singles out right now.
Yeah.
And the second one, like, it's quite a bit different from the other 2. And that, well, like when we were writing it, like we kept calling it a country song because it felt like a country song to us.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, like, I think other bands would have changed it a lot more to make it not sound like that, or not recorded it at all. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like bands can do whatever they want, but like for us, I don't know if it's, I think it's just like, we want to be a band that will write whatever. But I think it's also like we only have so many practices together. So like, we got to write these songs. Like if it sounds good, we can't just throw it out. Like we got to put forth our best stuff. And like we wrote probably like 24 songs for this, and like whittled it down to 12 overall, but there's like 10 on the record.
That's impressive.
So,
that's yeah.
Yeah. I know other bands that will do like, they'll write like 50 songs, like 60 songs or something. I don't know how anybody does that. Like, I almost don't believe it. They must be like counting like a single riff as a song or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like song ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I get, like, yeah, I don't know. For me though, like I want to take a song as far as it can go before like I say that's a song, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's like this record, it's definitely like, it's got something for everybody on it, I think. Yeah, we bounce back and forth between like dark and heavy, and like, I don't know if you'd say upbeat necessarily, but like not quite as dark, I guess. So I don't know. We're all really stoked about it. That's all I can say is like, I don't know. We really like these songs. Like it's definitely the best thing that we feel we've put out. So yeah, very excited.
If you're comfortable talking about it, is there anything? Is there a specific song, maybe like lyrically, that stands out the most to you? That's on the record.
Yeah. I really like the song "I Will Not Go." Yeah. So like most of the songs on the record aren't written about me. Like even if I'm saying them from like the first person or whatever, like I'm not writing them about myself necessarily.
Not autobiographical.
Yeah. But this one, like "I Will Not Go," it's definitely like about me. It's about like this time that I got lost on a hike for like 12 hours, and like I had to call someone to come find me because I was like totally lost, and it was getting dark and cold.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it was bad. But you know, like I don't know. I think the song that came out of it is like pretty cool. So yeah.
Well, and it maybe sounds like a funny story, but like, I mean, I've been in such similar situations where unfortunately there are things that will happen like that where you're like, am I going to actually like, am I going to die out here? You know, like, is this it? Is my movie over after this scene? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like, it was pretty obvious after the fact that like, oh, I would have been fine. Even if I had spent all night there, like,
yeah,
maybe I would have gotten a cold or something, but I'm pretty young. Like I probably would have been okay, but I wasn't thinking that at the time. Like at the time I was like, there's bears out here. Like, you know, there's stuff that can kill me out here.
Yeah.
Like it's, I think it was like early April, maybe like late March or something, which in northern Minnesota is still pretty cold.
Right.
You know? So I was definitely thinking like, yeah, I'm screwed if I don't get out of here like tonight. So
That's quote unquote fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So has the current environment, or let's just has the pandemic affected any of the in any of the production of the album, or have you been kind of held back by that? Has it affected you guys at all as a band?
As far as like the production goes, like no, like we finished tracking that like right before the lockdowns happened, and like after that, everything was being done over email anyway, so like that was fine, and like everything was paid for, so that wasn't like an issue. As far as like getting word out that we have a record and like getting people to like buy pre-orders or whatever, I think the industry as a whole is seeing like a pretty huge decline.
Yeah.
And part of that is like, I'd say at least half of our reach to like our audience or a new audience is touring, like being physically in front of people and saying, hey, we have a record coming out.
Yeah.
Here are some of the songs. And so if we're not able to do that, yeah, that's going to cut everything in half, like right off the bat there. And then throw into the mix, like people, I think in general, people are trying to not be on the internet as much, or like at least be on social media as much. They see like the dangers of excessive social media use. And then like just not wanting to be like around an election year, like that climate, like they don't want to be constantly on Facebook, like seeing all these posts that are making them angry. So like for all those reasons, like, yeah, we've noticed like a little bit less reach, I guess, or like interest being put in our band or like in the record, which isn't like that, it is what it is. Like, that's how it goes. We talked about pushing off the release of the record until we could tour again. But like, yeah, when it came right down to it, it was like, the record's ready. Like, we want to put it out. We don't want to wait. We don't know how long we would have to wait. It could be a long time. Like, let's just put it out now, like, let's just give people what we're proud of now. Like, why wait?
Sure.
So yeah. Like, even if it does prove to be like way less of a turnout, this release, like, I don't know. I've kind of chosen to not care about that kind of stuff anymore. Not because it's like not important, but because like I don't want that to be the reason I do any of this. Like, I want to have the least amount of selfish ambition for like putting out music. So, which is tough. It's tough, but
Well, and in my experience, just even doing podcasts, when you focus on stuff like that too much, it seems like for whatever reason, the only thing you actually pay attention to are the things that you don't like, about it. So, So I agree with you that it's better to just kind of wash your hands of all of it and just kind of focus on the thing that you do. With the record being called Everything All at Once, what was the what is the idea behind that? Although I think almost all of us can relate by almost December of 2020.
Yeah, I think there might be 3 songs. Okay, there's 2 songs that have that line in it, and I think for me anyway, it kind of refers to like my usual like mental emotional state, like just like being overwhelmed with like the knowledge that I have like a very good life and like lots of happiness, lots to be grateful for, but also like stuff that upsets me like a lot. I think for John and myself, like we think about the dual nature of being a Christian, being both saint and sinner at the same time. Like, you are both those things at the same time. And I think like that's what that phrase is like really getting at, is like being 2 opposite things at the same time, like that paradox. So yeah, I don't know. That's really all it is. And yeah, it made sense. Like, we had a couple other options for what we wanted to call the record, and like that one seemed to make the most sense.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that theme quite a bit. In the sense that like everybody is kind of a contradiction, so to speak. And even to jump further into it, you have situations where good people do bad things, bad people do good things. Me and my friends used to joke that like, even serial killers probably lent somebody $5 once, like like that sort of thing.
Right.
So that sort of duality is always very interesting, and almost makes you wonder: are there good people? Are there bad people? Like, is it?
Right.
Can you really even categorize people by that? And
Yeah.
so no, I think that's a good that's a good way to kind of explain it. Yeah, you're just all of these things at once.
Yeah. I think like when we talk about it, I would always bring up the example of like, oh, I want to reduce like whatever, like my carbon footprint, or like I don't want to contribute to like the factory farm thing. So I'm gonna
Right.
like go vegan. I'm gonna go vegan, and it's great because I'll just eat avocados all day because I love avocados. And you do
won't
that,
for
and then you
long.
find out that that industry is like destroying like certain parts of itself because like so many people are even eating avocados. So you feel like you're part of the problem still, or part of a different problem, maybe even a greater problem. So it's like, yeah, even my attempts to be a good person, like I still end up being someone's enemy or something,
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that a lot. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I think I ran out of questions for you.
Oh, no worries.
No,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
good. What are you into? What are you into now? Non-music, as far as just like day to day. I know we all kind of have more spare time, and as we discussed, we're trying not to spend it on social media. So, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, so I was living in Minneapolis for a few years, and then back in July, I got a job offer. Well, an offer to like help start a church and like be their worship director. And I don't know, this is semi true. Like that, I felt like I didn't have much going on in Minneapolis. Like I was just working at a restaurant.
Yeah.
I still have like, two of my bandmates live there. I have a lot of friends there, and I love them and I miss them. But yeah, like when it comes right down to it, like I wasn't doing that much there. Like I was ready for an adventure, I guess, or just something different. And yeah, so now I live in Joplin, Missouri. Like we're working on getting our church set up here, and I'm a barista at a coffee shop in a hospital. So that's kind of cool.
You're not far from me. I'm in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's right. Which is cool. I haven't really explored outside of this area much. But I know there's like the Ozarks are nearby. Like Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas are within half an hour of me, I think. So like that's kind of cool. I'm definitely gonna check all those places out in the future. Yeah, like I live in an apartment by myself, which I've never done before. Like I've always had roommates.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, just figuring all that out. Like, how do I live on my own, like truly on my own for the first time? Like it's, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's like, I don't know, like Joplin's a really cheap place to live. So it's not that challenging. But there's things like keeping my plants alive and like, just like taking care of myself so that I don't hate it here and don't like hate my life.
Sure.
Which like seems kind of impossible because like I love my current setup. Like I love what I get to do. So yeah. I wanted to say though, before I forget, I went on your Instagram page and the last post was like for Code Orange.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to talk about that a little bit because like I did not grow up with like metal or hardcore really. Like I heard hits, like radio metal stuff.
Metallica, Slipknot.
Yeah. But this band, Code Orange, I love that band. And like I don't know what it is. Like I'll listen to other hardcore records like Turnstile, just like whatever the kids are bopping. But Code Orange, man, I don't know what it is. Like they're like doing it right for me. Like I said, I'm not a metal connoisseur, but I listen to their discography like regularly. So
yeah, no, I like all the twists and turns. I think is really what it is for me because like, I mean, their first couple of records are very, very, they're very, very hardcore, like so firmly entrenched in hardcore that there's almost no way to predict like where they were gonna go, And I think that's one of the most interesting things about Code Orange is that like, I mean, I never imagined like for like Underneath, I couldn't imagine that the band would be like almost really know how else to say it, like almost like more new metal, I guess a little bit, like more like they incorporated a lot of maybe Dead influences from the 90s, which I think really did nothing but enhance their sound. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
They're so hard to put a finger on, and I think that's ultimately why they're so fun to listen to, because they are always going to give you a surprise. Because like I don't know about you, but like when I listen to Underneath, I hear something different every single time. Like I hear a different aspect that I didn't pick up the times before.
Yeah, there's so many layers on that record. Like, yeah, like you said, like every time you listen to it, you're gonna hear something you didn't hear before. So that's really cool. Yeah. I also kind of dig like their overall like look as a band, like how their music videos look, and like they're diving headfirst into like their own characters. And I know this sounds kind of dumb, like bands having characters to themselves. Like
people love
whatever.
Gwar.
Yeah. And like with this band, I always get this vibe of like a sci-fi, I don't know, like superhero team type of thing, especially like on Underneath, like just looking at their music videos, like, I don't know, they've all leveled up their character, like their bassist is always going to be this like, Russian looking like strong man, and their like keyboard guitar guy, like he's always going to look like the tech guy with his glasses. I don't know. It's cool. I love watching them. So yeah.
It's unique. It's unique because like most hardcore bands, especially looking at like Code Orange's earlier material, you would think that they would be so against like theatrics and, costumes and stuff. But it turns out that it was probably the best move that they could have made.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also, like, I know people that have hosted that band like in their basements to play like, years ago. And the fact that they've been Grammy nominated, like that's really cool. Like for a DIY kid like myself and like all the DIY bands, like we all saw that and we're like, that's cool. Like that. I mean, not that is what we're aiming for, but like, yeah, look at what their hard work did for them. Like they got to play with System of a Down, and they're like, I think they're the biggest band in their genre right now.
Yeah,
I think so. But I'm also again like not really in that genre. So yeah.
According to my listeners, I don't know anything about metal either. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure.
But Justin, thanks so much, man, for coming on and doing this stream and just having a little bit of time to chat. I like doing these, not so much as just to talk about, your music and stuff like that, but just as kind of a way to get to know somebody that I haven't gotten to talk to yet, and that's a lot of fun. But guys, Weathered has an album called Everything All at Once coming out on, I actually don't have the release date in front of me.
It's Friday. 11/20.
Friday. God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. For some reason I keep thinking we're past Thanksgiving. I did this to Shane Oshner last time too. I totally just botched the release date on the record before it came out, and he corrected me. He corrected me live on the show. It was actually really funny. And then my co-host did not edit it out. He's like, "Nope, I'm going to let you just sink right in front of everybody on that one," because I argued with him about the release date, like of his own record, which was super funny. But guys, check it out. There are 3 singles out right now. If you guys want a taste of what Weathered has going on this year, as the conversation is gone, I don't think that. I mean, you guys are kind of shaping up to be that band that doesn't put out the same record 2 times. Everything I've heard has been decidedly different from the last, and that keeps things fresh. That keeps things exciting. So definitely look out for that, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for everybody that was watching the stream. I know we were late. I will try my best to keep that from happening again, but it was totally my fault. It was not Justin's fault, so he was there on time. So everybody have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
And that was my chat with Justin Robert of Weathered. Their new record, Everything All at Once, is available right now. If you go to facedownrecords.com, you can order it there in CD, on digital, or on vinyl, which is what we all want. It's actually on sale right now as of posting this episode for like $20. It is absolutely a steal, $20 for a brand new release on vinyl. Definitely check it out. I really dig what Weathered's doing, and I really, really, really hope that they continue on and put out like 12 more albums. But the good thing is anything else they put out will not be in this vein. Everything seems to be different. Everything Weathered puts out is different than the thing that came before. So check it out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Discuss Metal podcast. This is the last episode of Discuss Metal for 2020. So reach out to us, send us an email, danandjoeshow@gmail.com, with requests on who you want to hear me and sometimes Joe talk to on Discuss Metal. You can reach out to us in a variety of ways. You can follow us on Facebook at Discography Discussion. You can follow us on Twitter at Discuss Metal. You can join our Discord server. There's a link in these show notes that'll take you right to our wonderful Discord server. And for the Discuss Metal podcast, I've been Dan. I can't wait to give you more of these episodes next year.
This has been the Discuss Metal podcast with Justin Robert of Weathered. Presented by discussmetal.com.